Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Aaron, also known as True, and this is my favorite workout of the week, back day. You can follow right through with this workout. First, we're going to go into deadlift. For beginners, you do not have to do the deadlift. This is just for an example and to give you an idea on the form. We're also going to do bent over rows, one arm rows, lat pull downs, and seated rows. Again, for beginners, you do not have to do the deadlift. If you would like to try it, I recommend that you go light. And if you can't do it with 135, and that's a 45-pound plate on each side, remember you can stack plates underneath a smaller plate so you can get the proper form and not have to go the whole way to the floor and overextend. Now you'll notice here my butt is down, my chest is up, and the bar takes one plane of motion, straight up my shins and straight down, and the bar follows that plane of movement the whole way to the top and then the whole way back down. And you'll notice at the top, in the next set, you'll be able to see it better, that I see how I tuck my shoulders back and sort of squeeze my shoulder blades together and arch my lower back slightly. You don't want to really bend way back, that's not proper form. You want to go up, shoulders back, and a slight bend in the lower back, and that's it. I love deadlifts. It's a great exercise. It hits the whole body, the whole posterior chain, and it really gets the blood pumping. Now I threw these timer markers in so you know when to take a break. Again, if you're a beginner and you do not want to do this, you can fast forward right through to the bent over barbell row. And you'll notice, guys, this is one thing that I did not show you in my bare necessities for the gym. For the beginner is the straps, because I do not recommend you start with them. I recommend you lift without any assistance, straps or braces or anything like that, until you get to the point where you're lifting enough weight that you need assistance. The reason I depend on the straps so much is because I've been a welder for the past 15 years and I do have some grip strength problems and carpal tunnel problems. All it is a slip knot that you put around your wrist and wrap it around the bar, and then you grab the strap and it helps you hold on. Well, it pretty much locks you onto the bar. It doesn't just help you hold on, it locks you onto that bar. Just as long as you don't let your fingers go, that bar ain't going nowhere, and you don't have to really use any grip strength. I still grip the bar as tight as I can and leave them a little loose. They're pretty much there for insurance, we'll say. And you notice here I'm doing a touch and go. I'm not setting the weight completely down. The proper way to do the deadlift is to set the weight completely on the floor and deload and then come up. But depending on my time and what I got going on for the day, depends on how I do my sets in each rep. Sometimes I'll switch it up, sometimes I'll set it down, sometimes I'll touch and go. It just all depends. For me, it's a thing of feeling. I know the right way to do it, I know the unrecommended way to do it, and I balance that line. Here you'll get a good idea. The weight's getting a little heavier. You'll see some my lacking form problems. You'll notice my chest might not be up as much as it should be. Right there you'll notice I dip down a little bit. That's things that you don't want to do. You want to try to keep your body moving in one motion. You don't want to go up at the lower back and then up at the legs. It has to be all one fluid motion. You don't want to do half and half lifts. And when I first started, this was a big problem for me. And I learned how to do it the right way. And it's hard to do it the wrong way unless I'm going way too heavy. So always want to try to keep your body moving together. Again, when you're just starting out, you may have a tendency to lift with your legs first and then your back, or your back first and then your legs. You want to do your best to work not to do that. And if you notice that you're not doing it and then you end up doing it when you add weight, go back down. Form first. Always work on your form first. Now here I was in a little bit of a rush and I was trying to hurry and get this workout recorded for you guys. So My form may lack in some of these movements, but it was just because I was rushing and not taking a long enough rest. I really wanted to get this recorded, and I figured to myself while I was doing it, if I do, fudge my form a little bit, it will give me a good opportunity to show you guys what to and what not to do. Now you'll notice here, my feet are about shoulder width, maybe slightly wider. I feel a little bit stronger when I go more narrow. I don't know why, I think it's just how my body's built. But you can go a little bit wider than shoulder width, no wider than that. If you go any wider than that, you're getting into sumo deadlift territory, and that's a whole nother animal. And we won't go over anything about sumo now, because if you're going to do anything, you just need to get the hang of the regular, good old deadlift. Alright, we're on to our second exercise, which should be the first for beginners, bent over barbell row. Now, as I said, I am going through my workout to show you guys this, so from some of the side shots you won't be able to see as well what I'm doing, but I do multiple angles so you guys can get a real good idea of what's going on. You'll notice here that I use bench form pretty much as well on back day. Chest out, butt out, and then I bend over at the hips slightly. And you want to pull the bar up to about your belly button area. Maybe a little below it, maybe a little above it, depending on how far you're bent over. This is about where I am most comfortable doing the standing bent over barbell row. There also is an option to do the bent over barbell row directly off the floor, but that is a much riskier movement, and if you don't do it right, you can really jack up your lower back. So I'm recommending the standing bent over barbell row for beginners. Alright, now here you'll notice my hands, and that I am lifting from my elbows. I am not really curling my arms up from my elbow down to my fingertips. Picture it it's just a hook, just a chain hanging there, and that I'm lifting from my elbows and upper arms. You just want to sort of picture your lower arm as just an apparatus that is holding that bar. You want to drive your elbows up and back and squeeze those shoulder blades together the best you can. You can even see through my t-shirt my lat muscle there and how it's working. It was a little chilly this morning, so I didn't go in the tank top, but you should still be able to get a good picture of the back muscle working here. Now what you'll notice, I bend over, I bend at the knees, and then I poke my butt out and then my chest out. And you'll notice that I'm pulling it up to about my belly button. And I am using a little body English there because the weight's getting heavier. And remember guys, whenever you see the clock icon, that is your indication to take a rest. Take your 30-second to 2-minute break. Depending on your time, if you can take a 2-minute break, go ahead and do that. No longer. But you also want to make sure if you're taking that long of a break, you better add maybe an extra 5 to 10 pounds because your body's going to be able to take that load. And if you're really looking to grow, if you're really looking to make some gains, you've got to move more weight. That's why I like this workout split, because it slowly builds you up to lifting more weight. Definitely. Now here you'll notice that the weight's a little heavy, and you'll notice that my form is lacking. Again, I was in a hurry, and I figured that if my form was a little lacking, that I could show you guys what not to do. You'll notice I'm not bent over as much, and you'll notice that I'm using my hips and my legs to sort of get a little oomph out of it. You don't want to do that. If you have to do that, take 20 pounds off. Third exercise is going to be the one-arm dumbbell row. Again, guys, back is one of my favorite days of the week. I love to do my back because I'm long and lanky, and I'm definitely a good puller. I'm much better at pulling, being built how I am, than I am at pushing. Alright, here you'll notice that I'm looking forward. I have one knee on the bench, one hand on the bench. My other leg is slightly back because I'm so tall. And you want to pull that dumbbell straight up to your chest. Again, if you notice, it isn't quite as pronounced, but I still have that proper bench form, I'm going to call it, because that's where I explained it the best, with my chest up and out and my butt tucked back and under. And you want to pull that dumbbell straight up to your chest, and you want to keep your arm in tight to your body. You don't want to have your elbow flaring out tight. I do a set with the camera facing the back of me so you can get a good idea what that looks like. I also do the next set here with the camera at the front. Here I get tied in with my strap, and you'll notice that I'm bringing my arm real close to my body, and again, same thing. I'm lifting from my upper arm, from my elbow up to my shoulder. That is where I'm getting my power from. The rest of my arm sort of is just stiff and hanging there to grab the weight. Whenever you're doing back, you always want to focus on pulling with your elbows. You pull from your elbows back every rep, every time. And you want to make sure that your chest is out, because you get more of a range of motion through the elbow and upper arm. You'll notice I'm doing a little body English there to get a better stretch. There is nothing wrong with that, but never jerk. Never jerk the weight off the floor. Never jerk the weight on the way back up. You never want to jerk that weight, because that's going to lead to an injury big time. I've done it myself, not paying attention, being in a hurry. Here you'll notice how I tried to lock myself into that form. You want your upper body about parallel to the ground. I like going a little bit higher so it hits a different part of my back than the regular bent over row, or if I was to do a straight parallel bent over one arm row. And again, you can play with the angle a little bit here. If you want to bend over a little bit more, that's fine. If you want to stand up a little bit straighter, that's fine. You have to adjust your body and make sure your back is in the neutral position, or as I said, we can call it the proper bench form position. Lower back arched back with your butt out, and your chest arched with your upper back arched with your chest out the front. Here from the back, I feel you get a good idea of how close I try to keep my arm to my body and not let my elbows flare out. You want that arm to come up right next to you. You see my elbows flaring just slightly, and that's okay, because it has to make it out around my body. But if you notice, I'm keeping it in there as tight as I possibly can and bringing that dumbbell directly up to my chest. Definitely, I'm taking you guys through some of the groundwork exercises to really get some size gains. Barbell bent over rows is one of the foundations of my back workout. It adds strength, it adds size, and it is just an awesome exercise. Alright, I'm going to throw this in so you know what type of bars I'm using on the lat tower. Most lat towers have a seated pull and a seated row pull and a lat tower pull down pull. You see I'm using the pretty much straight bar. It has a little bend at the ends there. Now this is your lat pull down. You lock your knees under, you push down with your heels, or I like the tip of my toes. Again, notice that form. Chest out, lower back arched, and pulling down with my elbows, from my elbows. The lower part of my arm is just there to grab onto the weight, and you use the upper part of your arm down to your elbow to do all the work. And as you pull down, you want to pull down and squeeze those shoulder blades together. Here we're going to get into set 2. The lighting's a little bit better. Hopefully you get a good picture of the lat muscles working. You'll notice I do use a little body English. The heavier I get, there's nothing wrong with that. Just as long as you're not using your whole upper body going forward and then on the way down really bending back to pull that weight down, you're still okay. The lat tower at my gym, if you notice, it's so short that I can't really get a good stretch out of it. So I will bend back a little more at times, even if the weight is lighter. You always want to make sure when doing back exercises that you get a good negative movement. You want to go down slow and get a good stretch out of it. You want to get a real good stretch when you notice that I go up and I sort of stretch for a second and then back down. Stretch, back down. Stretch, back down. You can even do it a little bit longer. There's nothing wrong with that. When you're doing back, actually when you're doing any body part, the negative movement is even more so important than the upward movement or the explosive movement. You always want to have good, slow, negative movements. You'll notice down quick, up a little slower. Watch it here. Down quick, up a little slower. Down quick, and control that weight on the way back down. Now guys, when we get to the seated row, again, every gym has different handles and bars. This is the close grip seated row handle that I like to use. I do switch them, but this is the one we're using for the beginner workout. Now here you'll notice that you want to start and keep your back a little straighter and just pull from those elbows. Bring that handle directly to your chest and touch it, well, your sternum actually. Damn. And look at that negative. In fast, down slower. Again, guys, I want you to keep in mind it's all about form. Here you'll get a real good picture of my back muscles working as I pull those elbows in tight to my body and draw from the elbows. Pull back from the elbows. You can really see my back muscles working, and you can really see a good negative and a good stretch at the end. Alright guys, on the seated row, I ended up losing my last set somewhere in transition from the phone to the computer, so there will only be 3 sets and the workout's almost done. Keep it up, you're doing great. In fast, down slow. In fast, down slow. Awesome.